going to show you guys how I've installed a pipe that I use to carry my fishing rods. I just call it my fish pipe. I've installed it on the ceiling of my canopy. So the other thing as well is, like, with fishing and my fishing rods, I have damaged some tips before, and so I really want to keep them nice and safe and inside the vehicle when I'm forward driving and when I'm driving around. However, when I've had this idea, I thought about this mechanism about how I'm going to do this, and it took me a very long time to figure this out. So at the back, you'll see as I go, there's a bracket and an eyelet, and it pretty much has a bit of a pivot mechanism, and it only needs to come down a couple of degrees because where it sits up here, it's tucked and hidden away, which is perfect. When it will pivot down just a couple of degrees until the back of the pipe hits the roof. It will then come to about here, and I'll be able to access my rods, and then I'll be able to just put it back up out of the way when I'm driving or when it's not in use. I think this is the best idea that I've come up with. I was going to drill into the canopy until I realized I actually have tracks in the canopy ceiling, which I didn't realize, so that was really awesome. And then at the front is just a strap to be able to hold it in place. Now it kind of had to be, I played around with this of whether I bracket and then like think of a little latch thing so then it would undo, like ideas of hinges. I went through every multiple choice options that I had in my mind, and I'm happy with the outcome of what I've found. Okay, I'm going to run you through what everything cost and what I got so that you can be way more efficient at getting the things that you need for this than I was. So the first thing that I used at the back was a bracket. This is a Kinetic 90mm saddle clip. They come in a 2-pack from Bunnings for $8.50. I just needed one at the back, which is what the pivot mechanism went through, and this is how it attaches to the pipe. The next biggest thing I ended up using, I looked at a couple of things. So these from Bunnings, you've actually got so many options. So Rhino Rack sell them in packs, but they're about $30 for a pack of M10s. I felt that these were too big to then fit in nicely with this because it was just too big and the pipe was too loose. So I ended up getting these from Bunnings. They have a 40 kilo weight rating. The ones that I ended up using were M6 eye bolts. They come in 2 packs, and so you'd need 2 packs of that. And yeah, the weight limit is 40 kilos, and by fishing rods and pipe are never going to exceed that. These are $5.03 a packet, so a total of $10.06. You can, on the cheap way, you could very easily use these for the front ones. These are only $1.20 at Bunnings. So this is an M6 that you can also get at Bunnings. Now, the channel nuts Bunnings don't sell. The only place that I could find them was Auto One, and they sell them from Rhino Rack channel nuts. You've got options of M8s and M6s. I went obviously using these with the M6s. I got a pack of the 4 M6 channel nuts and used 3 of them. They were on sale, so they were $8.80 for the 4-pack. For the bolt that goes through the pivot mechanism, I used an M6 bolt. It was 40mm, but once with all the washers in, 40mm is definitely overkill. You could definitely go a whole lot less. You can buy them by themselves for like, you know, a couple of cents really. They're not expensive at all. At the front, I used an M5 bolt, and that was because that was the size that went through the elastic strap. So I don't think you could maybe use an M6, but it would be really hard. What you can just do is pick up a kit. This is a 60-piece M5 and M6 nut and bolt kit, and this was $3.10 at Bunnings. So you could very easily pick this one up. Next was a carabiner. This carabiner was $1.05, and it is a 6mm snap hook carabiner. I don't think they sold any smaller ones. Really had to just squeeze this one all the way through, and then one side sits on there and the other side clips onto the other eye bolt. I also used a bit of felt. The felt was pretty handy. However, my pipe still does kind of twist around, so I want to be able to fix that up and make sure that doesn't. And so that 1 meter of self-adhesive felt tape was $4.46. The elastic strap that I used I mainly chose it because it was the most convenient size that just simply worked really well, and it's also flat, and it also looks like it is going to hold well. So I was pretty happy with that. It's a tie-down strap from Quickties, and it's 350 millimeters. Now, the last thing that I did was use a whole bunch of washers. I have like a whole thing of washers just spare. So to be honest, I have some spare nylon ones. So you might have to buy some from Bunnings, I guess, if you don't have any of these packs. But that didn't come into my cost, and because I didn't buy them. So all up, without the washers into consideration, to install that cost me $41.83 if you only buy the things that you're going to use. Now, I have a whole lot of spares to play around with and to have fun with, but if you want to be financially efficient, then the list will be in the description of what to get and how much the total is to do the mounting on it. I'm going to run through a couple of ideas and see what works and what doesn't. Just a whole bunch of things just to try out to see what's going to work best for installing the fishing pipe up the top there. Please excuse that. I'm in the middle of also installing my back panel for my electrical panel. This is the mechanism I'm going for. We've got the circle hoop in the middle, nylon plastic washer, and then the metal washer, and so that will be our pivot mechanism, and then this will go through. And then there's a washer on either side, and that will be up in the roof. Now, this is a little loose, but with the bracket thing, it doesn't really come together, so I've got a... Oh, actually, I might have a solution. But yeah, anyway, this will sit on the roof, and then that is how it's going to pivot once it's on. Picked up a bit of felt tape from Bunnings and just wrapped it around the pole and around the bracket, and I reckon that's going to be perfect for the exact kind of gap that I need to close. So, time to give it a go. Eye bolt on. Turns out all the way around was too much, but I've just put a little bit here of padding, and now it has fit perfectly, and hopefully this mechanism should work. Over it, what's that? It pivoted right to there. Hits the roof, and then bam, perfectly accesses your rods. Use this one tightened up, just put a bolt through, tightened her up. Using a shorter bolt, it actually just doesn't hit it nice. But I am going to put some felt on this just so it doesn't like bah bah bah. I'm not really sure what the rules of washers are, but I've pretty much put a little one on and then a big one on to then go up into the canopy. I don't know if that's allowed in washer rules. It's a washer in a washer. It's washerception. Yeah, look, I don't really know much, but I just feel like that's gonna be the best option for that. The only thing that I'm thinking of doing is from, like, for example here, if I can get a smaller eyelet, I want to bring this up and get a smaller S thing so that it's just smaller, and it can like go up a little bit more tighter. This ain't going freaking anywhere. I think I've slightly improved this, and I've put a carabiner through this, and then got the smaller M6 eyelet to then put on, and so it tucks it up nice, quite neatly, and it's still pretty solidly in there. Like, it's not going to be shifting around too much. Let's see if I can do this with one hand. So obviously drops down, beautiful, stunning. This now sits nice and flush, like it doesn't twist when you do it. And clip on, and then she's in there, nice and snug. And then to take out, drops down, easy as. So I can only access this with the tailgate shut, otherwise it's too far for me to reach. And you pull down the carabiner, unclip it, and it will drop down a couple of degrees. You can access your fishing rods. The only consideration is, if you're going to do this, how big your rods are. So I know that my biggest rod is my beach rod, and when it's put in half, fits lengthwise into the tub canopy. You could potentially mount this diagonally to get a little bit more length. Now, I didn't talk about the actual fishing pipe and how I made that. This is all just from Bunnings. So 90mm PVC pipe from the plumbing section. We capped off at the back with PVC cement, and then you've got the screw mechanism to undo and then your cap and your rod. So I'm actually pretty happy with my size rods. They're not the biggest, but also I don't think bigger is always better. I think sometimes catching bigger fish on smaller rods can be quite fun. Now this pipe fits at least 2 rods. I only have 1 rod at the moment. One disappeared. One I actually lost half of because I didn't put the cap on the pipe, and then I drove off, and then I got halfway down a 4-wheel drive track and saw the other half of my fishing rod come out of my pipe, and I was like, I don't know where the other half of that is, so I lost it. So this would prevent me from losing it even if I forget to put this on, but I think I'm going to remember because I'm going to then be able to stick it up. Cool. The car measures just under 2.2 meters, and so I don't really want to be adding any height to my car. I've also wanted to mount my awning closer to my rooftop tent, so I need to figure out, and if you have any recommendations as well, brackets for mounting. I've got a 23 kilo 270 awning at the moment. It's just a King's one, and I'm kind of keen to upgrade or to get a different one, but that'll do for me now. So if you've got any recommendations on good awnings or brackets as well, I've got 2 crossbars or the rooftop tent to mount it to. That will mount on that side, much closer to what it was before, and then on the other side I'm hoping to put a shower awning. All of these things, I can't have anything increasing the height too much, otherwise I'm not going to be able to get under 2.2 meter car parks, which sometimes I use.